Hey guys, welcome back. Tuesday, November 4th. Big news for Railtown AI and investors and speculators like myself today. Railtown and TELUS up in Canada announcing a collaboration. Railtown collaborating with TELUS Sovereign AI Factory to accelerate agentic development for Canadian software affiliates. I know that is a mouthful. We'll talk briefly about this. I'll put a link to the press release down in the video description. But the other things that I want to go over with you in this very brief video is besides this press release, which is very big news for today, a quick update on the AIP vote on the merger between Railtown, or the acquisition between Railtown and AIP partnership. There was a filing about an upcoming Railtown annual meeting. We'll touch on that very briefly. And more importantly, bullet point number 4 here, maybe many of you are wondering like me, how does Railtown monetize all of these new acquisitions, partnerships, collaborations, so that we can really finally see what we've been waiting for many months, a transition from a pre-revenue company to a company actually generating revenue. And then I want to close up by just playing a couple seconds of an interview with Dr. Tom Core over at AI Partnership, one of the founders. This interview done by Rebecca Kurzweil with Investor Relations over at Railtown. And I'll put a link to the full interview down in the video description. And I think if you're interested in Railtown, AIP partnership, Canadian AI in general, this is a great interview if you know what to listen for, where you can learn a lot about the new relationship between Railtown and AI partnership and what is to come in the next year or two. Jumping right into the big news of the day, Railtown and TELUS collaborating. If you are not familiar with TELUS, they are a powerhouse up in Canada, a telecommunication and technology company. And I provided you guys a video back on September 29th of this year talking about their new Sovereign AI Factory, which is a big deal for AI firms up in Canada. Railtown now announcing a collaboration with TELUS, and they will deploy their advanced agentic software through TELUS's Sovereign AI Factory, which will deliver cutting-edge AI-powered development tools to Canadian software teams, while, more importantly, keeping code, data, and intellectual property securely on Canadian soil and under Canadian control. What does all of that mean? You know, if you are a Canadian software company, a Canadian company, even a Canadian AI company, for many of them, having control of their data within the Canadian borders is a big deal. The article goes on to say that this will enable these companies to support scalable growth while maintaining complete sovereignty over their most valuable asset, their intellectual property. The full link to this press release is down in the video description, and we will be talking more about Railtown, TELUS, and AI partnerships in some coming videos. Let's talk about a couple of very quick items that I have on the list here. The AIP vote, and what I'm talking about there is, if you remember back on October 8th, Railtown announced the press release about the amalgamation agreement with AI Partnerships Corp. And in that document at the bottom, it talked about the transaction was subject to a number of conditions, including but not limited to receipt of required shareholder approval by AIP. There has been over the last month a little bit of wailing and gnashing of teeth in the retail investor base, wondering why the price is not moving, and could it be because this deal was just waiting on announcement of the vote from AIP that they have approved the deal. But guys, they already gave us the breadcrumb back on October 8th that over 51% of outstanding shares of AIP had entered into a voting support agreement. So for all intents and purposes, this deal was signed off on by AIP back in the beginning of October. There are certain corporate procedures that need to be followed, and that included, giving everybody till October 31st to get a written vote in. And then the lawyers, yes, they got to do their paperwork. And I think, as far as a public disclosure that the vote is finished, maybe expect that by mid-November, but nobody is waiting on that to start buying Railtown stock. the AIP vote, for all intents and purposes, as I said, is done. Also filed last week a notice that there is an upcoming shareholders meeting for Railtown on December 17th. Date of record for any items that we're going to be voting on is November 10th. And I think you should expect sometime between now and probably middle November to get a proxy saying what it is that you're going to be voting on, if anything. Last year's proxy looked just like this, where shareholders got to vote on the number of directors, the election of directors, and appointment of an auditor. I don't know what's going to be on this year's proxy, but we'll find out in just a few weeks, so stay tuned. As I said in the beginning of this video, maybe the most important thing that we really want to know if we're speculating or investing in Railtown is when revenue, when monetizing all of these new partnerships, acquisitions, and collaborations. And that is an excellent question. It is probably the number one question that you should be asking, and I can promise you that you're not the only one asking it. There are a lot of people trying to understand these very questions, and as I finish up my research in the coming days, I will be providing you guys a lot more layers of information regarding how this whole thing is going to work. And besides amateur analysts like me, I can promise you that there are also professional analysts looking at this deal, trying to understand it. And even though our friend Mr. V over at Research Capital is no longer there, I believe that somebody at Research Capital will be providing an update at some point on Railtown. And I think we can expect to hear more from Corey Brandolini as well. The most important thing for the eventual success of this investment is this company turning from pre-revenue into a revenue company. Everything that happens in the next year or two hinges on that, in my opinion. So stay tuned. If you're wondering about that, you're wondering about the right thing, you are not alone. And those answers will come in due time. While I am getting that final research compiled about how this revenue and monetization is going to work, if you are looking for more information on Railtown and AIP, I would suggest you go over to Midday Bell and pull up this interview that Rebecca Kurzweil did with Dr. Tom Core over at AIP. It is about a 32-minute interview. And if you really want to become an expert understanding this new partnership and how it is going to play out over the next couple years, there are some really good tidbits in here. Just put it on while you're eating lunch. Listen to it a couple times if you need to, because there are some high-level things, but there are some important things in here for you to understand about how AIP is looking at the partnership with Railtown, why they chose Railtown, and how these two companies are going to be working together to execute a roll-up strategy of some of AIP's partners, its affiliates, over the next year or two as they get access to more capital. As I said, go watch Rebecca interview Dr. Core over at the Midday Bell. I will put a link to her interview with Dr. Tom Core down in the video description as well. And I urge you guys to go watch that to be a more informed investor. Thank you for watching this quick update. There will be more information to come in coming days from this channel, talking mostly about how does Railtown generate revenue out of all of the news that we've learned over the last 30 to 45 days. How do they monetize these deals? What do we have to look forward to? So stay tuned to this channel. Hit the subscribe button. If you are new here, make sure and turn alerts on. And I look forward to hearing your thoughts, your questions, your comments down below. As always, I'm happy to help to the best of my ability. I am Tony Denaro. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video.